Hello, everybody, and welcome. Thanks for joining. My name is Michael Gutierrez. I'm the Administrative Manager of Teacher Education for the Longy School of Music, and we are so grateful that you are here with us tonight. We are recording this session, but we will stop the recording prior to our Q&A after our presentation. I would like to mention that for the purposes of our presentation entitled Mentorship Matters, Connection for Women in Band, the term women is an inclusive definition of female, which includes cis and transgendered women who are non-binary, gender non-conforming, and anyone who identifies as female in a way that is significant to them. Tonight, we'll be hearing from Pam Klena in this session. I will let Pam introduce herself and her little bit about her bio, but the presentation tonight should last about 25 minutes, after which time we'll have some time for Q&A. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Pam.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. I'm going to share my screen if that's okay.
Absolutely.
All right. All right, Mia, I have a worksheet that I will put in the chat at the end if you want to reflect. There's reflective questions at the end, and also give you a link to this presentation if it's helpful.
Great.
So, thanks. So a little bit about myself. I teach in Michigan, Rochester, Michigan, which is in the Metro Detroit area at Oakland University. This is my 6th year here. I have this great job where I get to have a foot in both music education classes. So I teach the undergrad like methods courses and supervise student teachers and all that good stuff. And then I also have a foot in conducting where I conduct one of the bands here and teach graduate conducting. I am also the president of an organization called Women Band Directors International. I'm just starting my 2nd year in the presidency. It's a 6-year term. And I love it so much. This is not going to be a total advertisement for them on mentorship, but I am going to mention it just a little bit. My favorite part about everything that I do is the hat that I wear is I'm an aunt. I have a brother and a sister, and I have 6 nieces and nephews. Well, 1 niece and 5 nephews. And here's most of them, except for 1 missing in the picture here. And just to give a little bit about what qualifies me to talk about mentorship, I have always been really passionate about it. When I was in graduate school, I had to start thinking about topics I was going to write my dissertation on. And I always came back to inclusivity in our field and mentorship and that importance. I serve as a mentor to people in a couple of ways, and I'll talk about that. And I also have many mentors in professional settings and in personal settings. So we'll talk a little bit about that later. So I'm by no means an expert, just a participant and a recipient of mentorship. But I just wanted to share some things that could be helpful along the way. So Mia, since it's just us, which is totally cool, do you mind sharing a little bit about, you said you're in school now in music education. Do you mind?
Yeah, I'm at school in Longy in music education, and Jamie Gunther recommended I come here because I've never had a female band director before, in everywhere I've been. So I thought it would be good to just talk to someone else who relates to that.
Yeah, Jamie Gunther's my buddy there. And so what comes next for you after Longy?
I'm looking at applying for jobs this summer.
And jobs would be at a college level or high
Um,
school?
like high school music education.
Oh,
Cool.
perfect. And band is your jam, and your instrument is
I play the clarinet.
clarinet. I was gonna guess oboe, Mia, but
Fun one.
clarinet vibes, I feel it now. So, Who doesn't love a good learning objective? This is the title, right? I just taught my students and worked with them this morning about writing learning objectives. So the three main takeaways from this that's also reflected in the kind of the session blurb is we're going to analyze mentorship strategies. So we're going to talk about approaches to mentorship at different ages, both being a mentor and being mentored. We're going to create and develop some kind of strategies for meaningful connections in a supportive network. And then we're going to advocate for inclusive spaces. So we're going to do like a case study and how we can be a mentor and what is required of us when we are looking for mentors. So, if you don't mind sharing, since it's just us, and Michael, you can join in too. I'm sorry I didn't ask any questions about you, but have you ever had a mentor anytime in your career? Anyone can answer. And by the way, these pictures are a bunch of pictures of a lot of my mentors.
Sure, I'll participate.
Yeah.
I have been on the receiving end of mentorship and also have been the giver of mentorship. So all throughout undergrad and even in my first 5 or 6 years of directing middle school and high school choir, I had a mentor teacher that was assigned to me all throughout my first few years of teaching, as well as maintaining the mentorship through my college music education and choir professors. I also took advantage of ACDA's mentorship program when I was a student. And then actually in my last teaching job prior to Longy, I was a mentor through ACDA for a new music teacher as well. So really rewarding experience. Definitely learned a lot more having gone to be a mentor and understanding just the nuances of different responsibilities as a music teacher out there. And it really was more collaborative than, giving what knowledge I had at that time. So I really love the collaboration piece of it.
Yeah. What about you, Mia? Have you had a mentor anytime in your educational career or professional career?
Yeah, I would consider my clarinet lesson teacher a mentor in undergraduate. And I think it was like obviously music as well, but there was a lot of social and encouragement too. So it really went beyond the music, and that's what made it feel so special and helpful to me.
Oh, I love mentors that cross and blur all of those aspects. Looking at my own pictures here, I've got a bunch. This is my high school band director that I still get together with 25 years after after high school. This is my current work colleague right here who serves as a mentor. And even today, Mia, before you hopped on the call, I was telling Michael, I had a rough day today and it happens. And my mentor was there to kind of guide me about how to get through this and how to get out of this and kind of regain my footing. And lots of other mentors. This one right here is a mentor of mine that I went up and asked her to be my mentor because I loved everything. And we'll talk more about that later. That required a lot of bravery from awkward me to do that. So, so I want you to maybe think about for just a minute before we share, and just kind of reflect before you share. Share one piece of advice that you've received or wish you had received early in your career. So it could be something like a great piece of advice you got, or something you got later in your career that you're like, oh man, this was a great piece of advice. Just take maybe 30 seconds. Everybody got something on the mind?
Yeah, I'll start.
Yeah.
I am thinking about making mistakes, and I wasn't like really told that they're okay to make. It's going to happen all the time, and how to like recover immediately, and then how to not feel guilty about it after, and like mistakes in anything like teaching, performing, just like something you forgot. So I think
Yeah,
that's been something I've wished I had someone to guide me more on.
sure. Michael, do you have anything that sticks out to you?
Yeah, I'm thinking back to my first couple of years of teaching and even student teaching, where my cooperating teacher once told me that, it's okay to have the confidence in what you're doing. You have the training, you're a great musician, you've gone through the prep steps to be a teacher. You're not going to destroy anyone's life. You can make a mistake. Your lesson plan won't go fine, and it's not the end of the world. Nothing is going to shatter if nothing goes right. You're starting your career, it'll be fine.
How interesting that these are all lining up, because the one I'm going to say is also very similar.
Yeah.
That should be a study right there. I have a work colleague who is a mentor to me, a peer colleague and a peer mentor, and she kept saying to me this thing, because I either function at 150% or 0%. There is no in between, right? And she said to me, good enough is good enough. And at first I was like, no, it has to be 150% enough, and then it's good enough. But she would just, it was actually, we were working on an assignment, something that I needed to get done. And she said, we're setting the timer for 20 minutes and then we're moving on. And I was like, I can't get this done in 20 minutes. And sure enough, after 20 minutes it's done, she looked at me and she said, good enough is good enough. Time to move on. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's great advice. So I share that with anyone who will listen. Mia, you can have that for $5. Just kidding. So is mentorship really that important? We've clearly talked about how special it is to us. If you want some stats or studies, there's lots of those, but my specific dissertation is in toward a more inclusive profession, a qualitative study of female wind band conductors. So I interviewed these 7 conductors. You may recognize the names, you may have read them before. These are all, there's a whole list in the study about how they were kind of approved, but I interviewed all of them and asked the same question to all of them. And one of them was for them to talk about their mentors. So there's lots of information that they say and talking about the importance of it. And I just want to read a little bit. Um, Emily Trinan, who's on the list here, discussed the importance of nurturing relationships with mentors. She stated that this responsibility fell to the student, or you could say mentee, not the mentors. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. She explained her mentors were precious and that she continued to learn from them. Dr. Trinan said maintaining this relationship has proven beneficial for her growth as a music educator. And she says this, but I will say the student is responsible to keep those mentors in their lives. I think a lot of times when students or people leave their degree program, they just go out and do their own thing. You can do that for sure, but even when I was a graduate student, I would send Craig Kirchhoff my recital videos. I don't know that he ever looked at them, but I just wanted him to know I was growing. And I wanted him to know he had an influence on me 10 years ago, and this is what I'm doing now because of that. So I'm going to revisit that idea that perhaps finding a mentor falls on us, the mentee, for what we're looking for what we need, for what we're asking for. But it is important. Every single one of these women talked about the importance of having a mentor. And to clarify, not all of them were female mentors. Not all of them were older. Not all of them were in the field. Some of them were kind of peripheral to music and music education as mentors to them. So I don't want to put your mentors in a box about if you're a woman, it needs to be a woman, and it needs to be in a college band director setting, and they have to be older than you. None of those things are true. We'll talk more about that later. So I want to talk a little bit about analyzing effective mentor strategies. I've put 3 ways. Mentorship can take a lot of forms. First, you can have formal program, which Michael mentioned already, being a part of CBDNA. Is that right? No, ACBA.
ACDA. Yeah.
ACDA, the acronyms, so many acronyms.
There are so many.
Yeah, so they can come in formal programs. There can also be informal check-ins. I have a relationship with a mentor right now, where I will just check in to say, hey, this is going on. How are you? And a quick check-in. And then a month later, it's another check-in, right? You can also have peer mentorship, whether it's someone the same age as you who's mentoring you in a class, a situation, any of those things. And then there's can also be sponsorship. Those can be for larger organizations where someone's going to sponsor you as a mentor, whether it's a fraternity or a sorority or something like that. Those are also meaningful mentorship models. A little bit more about mentorship models. Yes, sorry, I didn't move to my next slide here. Look at that floor. I wish my floor looked like that clean, just like that. So some mentorship models, there are organizations that you can join, established organizations within our profession. Some that I'd like to mention, and Michael, if you'd like to mention a few from choral world, that would be great. For band, we have the National Band Association is just getting started with a pretty significant mentorship program. I forget how many members, but it's one of the largest organization. Mia, if you're not a member, it's relatively inexpensive to join such a pretty massive organization. And like I said, they've been working on a pretty significant mentorship program that's going to spearhead soon. Women Band Director International, which I'm the president of, has many mentorship programs as well. And we are also spearheading a new mentorship program. We have a journal called the Woman Conductor, where we have people answer questions that are written in, which is a form of mentorship as well. Like ask the editor kind of questions. And then we also have more formal mentorship pairings. State associations. I know in the state of Michigan, we are Michigan State Band and Orchestra Association. They have a mentorship program that you can opt in or opt out. You can be a mentor or a mentee, and they have pairings for that as well. Also within districts that you teach. So Mia, let's say you go to Idaho and you're a teacher there. Within their districts, some districts have mandatory mentorship programs in your first 5 years of teaching. It just depends kind of where you are on that. In my university, they have mentorship programs, not only for my tenure, like as I'm working to get tenure, but also just if I'm looking for other female faculty as well to connect with, or I'm looking for other musicians to connect with. Usually within the school that you're at, there are mentorship opportunities as well. So generally for these organized organizations, they have kind of a process that kind of looks like this. And if you think about it, it's pretty complicated to pair people in mentorship, right? Especially if they're just all over the nation. So what they generally do is collect information from you. So they'll say, Mia, where are you? How long have you been teaching? What instrument do you play? You know, where do you see yourself in 5 years? What are you looking for? And you fill out kind of a Google form and send it in. And then a mentor will send something in and say, listen, I've been teaching for 36 years. I've done orchestra, band, and choir. So if someone has that kind of thing that they're worried about in their job description, that's a good pairing, right? And then they spend significant time kind of pairing a mentor and a mentee. You can also, for most of these organizations, sign up as a mentor and a mentee, as both of them, which is what I do a lot. But they kind of have a formal way of doing that. In districts, they usually put you with other people within your district or sometimes specifically outside. Other mentorship models can be informal. I talked about my friend, my mentor on that page. I had always admired her from afar, actually kind of on a pedestal a little bit. And when I moved to the state, She said she was interested in grabbing coffee with me. So I met her halfway and we had coffee and we talked for a couple of hours. And I was so sweaty and nervous. I barely drank any of my coffee. And then we just connected. And at the end of it, I know I sounded like a middle school boy asking somebody on a date or somebody, but I was like, I was wondering if you could be my mentor. And she said, "Oh yeah. If you'll be my like, oh yeah, we're absolutely we're in this together." And I felt awkward about the words coming out, but it was an informal kind of conversation where I asked her to be a mentor to me. And later on, we had more conversations about what we both wanted out of this mentor-mentee relationship. Um, Peer mentoring, again, is another form of a mentorship model. For instance, if Michael was struggling with something that his job required him to do, he may have someone that's works with him or works tangentially in another school doing the same job where you can ask about mentoring either a project or we want to spearhead a new idea for this or we want to increase our membership enrollment. Those are great ways to have mentorships that are peers, the same age, or same profession or same job. And then group mentorship is important too. You can find that a lot, whether you're doing panels, if you hear panels or workshops like this, or conferences will have a lot of things regarding mentorship as well. So if we can, we'll all do this. If you don't mind, writing in the chat, what qualities you value in a mentor. And if you're not sure what qualities you might be looking for, this might be someone just like a person in your life that you would value these qualities. You can write as many as you'd like. Oops. Yeah. Oh, I like that one a lot. I like some of these a lot. You can continue to type. Yeah. As more come to you. without kind of repeating what you wrote in the chat, Mia, what would be a good connection for you?
I think that sometimes that would take me a while to build. So I think someone with patience
Mm.
and understanding and is curious about the intersections of my life and how like things that I have going on may impact other stuff.
Wow, what a beautiful answer. What about you, Michael?
Think about someone who is equally curious to invest in others and themselves.
Cool. I think I'm a very driven person. And I'm like that in a lot of things in my life. And I value someone um who can see that and is okay with giving me space to keep moving forward or ideas to keep moving forward instead of being stagnant. I also really value vulnerability. I think I've had mentors before that weren't good matches because there was kind of like do you all know what like a wall there? Like um, it wasn't real. It was like we were saying good words to each other, but it wasn't real. Um, and so I think one of the first things you can do when you're looking for a mentor is establish some qualities that you value. It's kind of like dating. If you have some qualities that you're looking for, whether they have um, similar political or religious views or something like that, that's important to you, that's also important in your mentorship relationship. So making a list of things that you value will help you when you are looking for someone or you're going to be that for somebody else. It's okay for you to also think about, and let's just kind of go off my notes here because here we are just spitballing. What would you look for in a mentee? Let's say you're the mentor. What would you look for in a mentee? Or be like, that's not a good match, but this is a good match. You can write it in the chat or you can say it out loud.
I guess this kind of goes along with what you were saying earlier about mentees approaching mentors. I think that a mentee has to have an understanding that they have room to improve and are willing to receive feedback on that.
Sure. Open. I just wrote that in the chat. Yeah. Open to new ideas, open to trying, open to feedback, open. Yeah, I think I think I wrote this earlier. I don't think your mentors have to have the same exact views as you, but there's going to come a time when they should be close, or it's going to be conflict. They don't have to be a replica of you. But if they think something completely different, it's not a good match, right? It's not even balanced. So I consider those things too. Okay. So we're going to move on a little bit to creating a supportive network. Um, yay. I'm already late on my time, Michael. Did you see that?
You're doing, it's
we
going
only got
great.
2 people here and I'm already late. So let's talk about creating a supportive network. So I want you to either type it or write it or something like this. Think about the people in your professional circle. I had like 4 names pop into my head just now. Who do you turn to for guidance? If you've got a question, who's your first text message? Who's your first email? I'm going to write it down too. Now I want you to consider who might look to you for questions. That's important too. It's important that we have all kinds of spaces. Yep. So who might turn to you, or who does already turn to you to ask questions? How's that list looking? Is it balanced, or do you have more people that turn to you that you turn to? What's it look like?
I would say I definitely have more people that I could turn to. I think I'm just not as experienced in many fields. So I'm working on getting relationships on both sides for that.
What about you, Michael? You have more that turn to you, or more that you turn to?
You know, it's not a perfect balance, but I think the longer we're in what we're doing in our professions, the list of people grows. But
Mm,
in my circle, the people that I would reach out to outweighs who comes to me. Although the
but-
people that do come to me, it's a pretty consistent few people
Yeah.
and vice versa.
So I want us to think about some, and we're going to share these specific, and we can brainstorm off each other. You don't have to write it down. We can just kind of spitball if you'd like. What are some specific intentional ways that we can expand our mentorship networks? Because it's fine to be in this safe Zoom space and talk about opportunities, but what are some things that we can actually do to either provide more mentorship opportunities for ourselves or for others? Um, and Mia, I've only known you for 34 minutes, but you offer something that nobody else can offer. And it could be to someone who's, it doesn't even have to be experience in music education. It can be experience going to graduate school. It can be experience playing clarinet. It can be experience any of those things. So I would just kind of strengthen you and give you, like, speak strength into you and say, you offer something that I can't offer and Michael can't offer either, to someone who's looking for that. So what are some specific intentional ways that we can expand our mentorship networks? I've got one that I thought of. The first two names that I wrote down for people who look to me are both faculty that started, like, were hired on like 2 years after me. And one of the things in our profession is tenure, and it's kind of a real pain to do. But both of these people are young, they're close to my age. And I think maybe what I will do is be intentional about either meeting with them once a month, or maybe seeing if we can do like a weekend away where we can just talk about tenure and kind of play with the platform that we use, because that's the most complicated thing. Any other intentional ways? And I forgot to ask this too, if there's someone that you admire from afar, like I did my mentor now, make sure you write their name down too. Um, if it's someone that you've read an article by them, or you saw them featured on a website, or you saw a great recording of them conducting or teaching, those people count as well, because we're going to talk about reaching out to them. Um, People are people, pedestals are dangerous. And so when we reach out to people that we admire or that we want to learn more about, that is a possible mentorship network that we are building. Anybody have any other thoughts about intentional ways? Oh yeah, love it. Okay, I see the chat going here. Yeah. Yeah. Look at that conference list that you just went to and circle the names of like, oh my gosh, I want to, have coffee with that person, or I want to pick their brain about this idea because I wanted to do that too. Those kind of like moments where you connect with somebody that you have never connected officially with is a great opportunity for expanding your mentorship. Another way that you can do this to kind of open your eyes to what's out there, you put social media messages, but also my students tell me Facebook isn't a thing anymore, but I use it all the time. There are tons of groups that you can join, like band directors who teach strings, or I'm teaching a guitar class at high school level, or all kinds. You can type in anything, and it may not be a mentorship like group, but you may find somebody in there that you're like, oh, I want to pick they had this great worksheet that they put in there, and I want to ask them if we can just have a Zoom coffee date and chat about this specific instance with this cello player that I'm struggling with. Mia, as you go into the profession and you start looking for jobs, you said this summer that's going to happen for you, or you're looking for a job for this summer?
I will be looking in the summer for the coming school year.
Yeah. What are some ways that you can find mentors to help you with this process?
Keeping the ones I already have in good contact. So after my program ends, making sure that I don't let those connections die out. And this is giving me courage to talk to a band director at my student teaching placement right now. I think she's super cool. I don't work with her super closely, but I think she's very inspiring. She's like the head of the arts department, so she's always busy doing something, which kind of like makes it intimidating. But getting the courage to ask her to have coffee.
I always started my emails that went out to the mentors I have, Mia, with, I'm sure you're really busy, but, and every single time they write back, I am not too busy for you. And that is also what I say now. People, it hurts my heart. If you were to email me a month from now and say, Dr. Klena, I know you're really busy, but could you blah? I would say, I'm never too busy for you, because that brings joy in my life to mentor other people, just like it's her joy to mentor you. So I encourage and uplift you to do that. You are not a burden. And I've got some good quotes coming your direction. Yeah, Michael, I can see some great things. Reaching out to new colleagues in your neighborhood. As you're polishing up your resume or your documents, or even if you're thinking about changing schools or any professions, send it to people that you think have great jobs and that just put another set of eyes on it. That could open up all sorts of mentorship pathways for you. Okay, so I want to, and this may be too personal that you don't want to share this, but what's been on your mind lately? And I ask this as a way that you can stimulate questions that you might ask a mentor. These are some that I personally have on my mind that I wrote. These are not general things. These are specific things. I today had a very bad dress rehearsal for a concert, and I was telling Michael that most of it was due to flubs that I made. So I left feeling like a not very good musician and was like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be teaching this. I shouldn't be doing this. Is pretty normal. But I had this feeling like I'm an imposter. So someone that I can talk to, I have a dear mentor who lives about 3 hours away. And she had just sent me a text message that said, I'm thinking about you today. And I sent a picture of myself back and was like, ugh, it's been a rough day. And she said, some great advice to me when I said, I'm not feeling like I'm my best right now, and I did not give my students my best. She said, we are always so hard on yourselves. We are always so hard on ourselves. It is normal to have an off day and to drop beats and to not be able to find a tempo or something like that. That's not the norm. It's just an off day. Give yourself grace and hop back in tomorrow. And that was really what I needed to hear today. I'm feeling like I'm being left out of meetings. That would be a really good conversation for someone that's someone that works with you, that's a mentor that you trust, that you can be vulnerable with, and saying, am I being left out of meetings, or am I allowed to speak in this meeting or not speak in this meeting? Does anyone want to share something that they might ask a mentor right now that's on kind of your mind? You don't have to by any means.
I would ask about just like making connections, because again, like with getting a mentor, it's hard for me to establish that. And then right now at my student placement, I'm at Boston Latin School, and there's like 5 band directors, all male, that run around there. So then I'm like very worried about how I fit in there, and like if I am noticeable and special enough to like make it in whatever group I think that they're in without me.
You are, what I'll say it again, you have something that no one else can offer. And yes, making connections is really important in this. It seems that you would be well suited to have a female band director, whether they're much older or much younger, um, to kind of help you, that's been in this process. In Texas, it's pretty normal to be one female amongst five male band directors. I know this to be true from my friends that are down there. And a lot of them feel the same. I have a connection through WBDI who mentioned that her responsibility was getting coffee for the other band directors. And she felt like that was abusing of her talents and her gifts and her education that she brings to the profession, to that job. And she came to kind of a few of us and said, I need help with this. And we were able to kind of work together and brainstorm to give ideas for her to get mentorship in that. Thanks for sharing, Michael. That's a really great question that sometimes I struggle with a lot. Uh, Good enough is good enough, kind of falls in with that. But I also struggle with that sort of thing. So also having an idea of what you might ask a mentor before you reach out can be helpful as well. It can be helpful in even guiding what kind of mentor you're looking for. Like for instance, Mia, with the situation that you mentioned, perhaps a male band director isn't the best mentor for you right now in this space. I've had all sorts, you saw my picture, all sorts of people, older, younger, same age, male, female, just everything. Maybe there are times when I needed that, and there were times when I needed something different. And perhaps for you, in this question that you're asking, in this way that you're feeling, a female would be a better version for you of a mentor to help you through that. My question about not being a good musician, I asked someone who I considered was a great musician, and talked with them about that. So the next thing I want to do, my thing isn't working here, is read a couple of quotes. I love Brene Brown. If you haven't read Brene Brown, she's great. She's wonderful. Courage starts with showing up and letting ourselves be seen. And I added this slide like 30 seconds before I hopped on the call because I wanted to talk about the bravery that goes into asking someone if they will be a mentor or being someone's mentor. Courage starts with showing up and letting ourselves be seen. not putting on any kind of mask, not putting on any kind of air, but letting who we are be seen, that vulnerability. Every single one of us said vulnerability is important to us in a mentorship relationship. So not putting on a mask, not acting like you have all the answers, or that you are a great musician all the time and that you can set down a tempo anytime somebody asks, but showing up and letting who we are ourselves be seen. Another one is just a question to think about, is what is the truest, most beautiful story about your life that you can imagine? So, like, what is the most beautiful thing you can imagine about yourself 5 years from now, 1 year from now, 10 years from now? If you have that in your mind, that vision of where you want to go, it also helps you provide a little bit of bravery and courage to ask for help to get to the most beautiful spot in your life, the most beautiful story you could tell about yourself. So see me later for other great book tips. I've got a lot that I've got cooking. I have like 6 books on the cooker, which is too many. That's 6 too many. But I just wanted to just say that it's not easy to ask for a mentor or to establish connections, but it is always worth it in the long run. Okay, the last point of this presentation is advocating for inclusive spaces. So here's an example. And the reason I'm talking about this is because it's good to be a mentor, but when we have inclusive spaces, we are also serving as a mentor to others. If we believe that it's important for us, then it's important for others, right? So this is just an example. You overhear a band director at a local conference talking about burnout and how she feels like she's struggling to keep all the plates spinning. What are some things that we could do to ensure she feels supported? The first thing I would do is reach out. Whether I've never seen her before and I just overhear a conversation or something like that, I would say, hey, I struggled with this too. I'd love to chat with you sometime. Um, what's some other things we could do to ensure she feels supported? Mention a great book that you read. You might like this book. Maybe a podcast you're listening to. Um, Maybe you find connection on a Facebook group that you're a part of, like Women Band Directors has our own kind of Facebook group. And we talk often about people talk about things that they're struggling with. And you may find a connection there that you resonate with. Any other ways? By the way, does anyone resonate with this statement at all? If you do, somebody else does too. And I just want to make sure that we're thinking with both hats on. I think it's really important to be like, I need a mentor. I need a mentor. I need someone. I need this. But if you need it, there is also someone that's looking for something that only you can offer. And that's the really important thing I want everyone to kind of get out of this session, is that if we think that we need it, someone else does too, and you offer something special. So I want to ask that you would make a commitment. What is one action that you will take this month toward mentorship, whether it's being a mentor or looking for one? Can someone share? I'm going to email these 2 people on my list, and I'm going to say, do you want to have a 10-year party?
I'll share that I just actually texted that one friend that I haven't talked to in a little bit, but that I'm thinking about them and hope they're doing well with their teaching load right now.
Love it.
I am planning on reaching out to the person I'm student teaching with, and also affirming someone that I recently got helpful advice from, that it was helpful and I appreciated it.
I love that. Those are great things. Gosh, thank you. So, next steps that you could also do that are very tangible is join organizations that have mentorship programs established, where you can go and get and you can go and give. I've mentioned several of those already. Women Band Directors International is one of them. CBDNA is one of them. NBA is one of them. Perhaps there's one in your district. Does Longy have a mentorship program at all, Michael, or can you look into that?
We do offer career coaching as part of the curriculum for the master students, so they do get that.
Perfect. Reach out to a potential mentor or mentee and
I'm so sorry.
it's okay. I'm gonna call you. You can reach out to a mentor or mentee. And the other thing is you can participate in a follow-up discussion or event, which leads me to my next slide, that I am always happy to be a mentor or a mentee to anyone. My email is here. You can also get it from anybody at Longy, Jamie Gunther, Michael, any of them. I'm happy to service this. You're happy if you want to set up a Zoom call with your buddies and me, I'm happy to do that as well. So reach out and see how you can be fulfilled in this way and also serve as a mentor to others. So that's my presentation today, and a conversation that I hope gives you bravery and kind of sparks ideas about mentorship and its importance to you.